Okay, students, this is chapter number 13, the use and abuse of drugs. In today's lesson, we will see some lung diseases. For instance, bronchitis, emphysema, COPD, which stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Then we will see why lung cancer happens and what are the consequences of it. And then we will see the smoking effect on pregnant women. First, let's discuss what is chronic bronchitis. Bronchitis itself means inflammation of bronchi. So it is the inflammation of epithelium of airways as a result of exposure to irritants in the cigarette smoke, including carbon monoxide, resulting in reduced airflow and excessive mucus secretion. If you can see in the diagram, the normal bronchial wall have enough space for air to pass through. On the other hand, in the inflamed bronchial wall, the lumen or the internal diameter of the bronchi has been reduced, decreasing the airflow or decreasing the passage for air to flow. It also increases sputum production and increased risk of bacterial infection. When the mucus starts to accumulate here, the mucus presence or accumulation here would invite bacterial infection. So what's the cause of bronchitis? Tar stimulates the goblet cells lining the trachea and bronchi and bronchioles to produce extra mucus. If you remember from chapter of respiration, goblet cells are specialized cells which are lining the bronchi, bronchioles and trachea. Their function is to form mucus so that they can trap bacteria and irritant particles. But what tar does, it overstimulates the goblet cells, which starts to produce extra mucus. Tar already have paralyzed the cilia, so this extra mucus won't go anywhere. It will keep on accumulating in the air passages. It will slow down the working of the cilia, like I told you before, that tar deposits on the cilia, which are hair-like structures, sweeping away the irritant particles. Once cilia are paralyzed, extra mucus is not cleared off. Collection of mucus in the alveoli leads to difficulty in exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide and provides breeding ground for bacteria to reproduce there. This causes higher risk of bronchitis and other lungs infections. Next disease is emphysema. Before understanding it, the disease itself, I hope you remember that the basic unit of respiration or respiratory system is alveoli, which is one cell thick and is surrounded by many blood capillaries. If you can see in the diagram here, the alveoli is containing air which is freshly coming from outside and is rich in oxygen, while deoxygenated blood in the capillaries is moving around the alveoli. Oxygen goes into the capillary and carbon dioxide goes into the alveoli by simple diffusion. And this exchange of gases is happening because of the normal structure of alveoli here. Here in this diagram also, I have tried to show you that how these gases are being exchanged, because the alveoli is one cell thick and it is providing greater surface area for gases to be exchanged, both gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen. So what happens in emphysema is that since it is associated with smoking and chronic bronchitis, irritants in tobacco, the tar and carbon monoxide, cause excessive secretion of mucus. This causes irritability and person starts to or tries to remove the accumulated mucus by persistent coughing, which is known as smoker's cough. Already weakened alveoli walls break down, resulting in reduction in surface area for gaseous exchange, which causes difficulty in getting enough oxygen. So what happens is that if a person is suffering from bronchitis or is a regular smoker, what happens is that the irritant particles in the smoke, the irritant particles such as tar and carbon monoxide, starts to provoke or stimulate goblet cell to produce excessive mucus. So since the mucus is irritating the air passages, the person starts to cough violently, which is called as smoker's cough. The alveolar walls, because of that pressure and being already weakened in a smoker's chest, these walls starts to break down, decreasing the surface area for exchange of gases. In emphysema, the lungs also overinflate and lose their elasticity. An infected person wheezes. Wheezes means breathing with a sound, and gets tired while doing little physical activity and experiences shortness of breath. Why all these things are happening to him? It is because of the fact that not enough oxygen is reaching his cells, hence the respiration is decreasing. Respiration is a process by which we are able to form energy in the form of ATP. So since respiration is slowed down, less energy is formed. Less energy means that you are unable to do a lot of physical work, and only a little physical activity would tire you. Shortness of breath would be observed in a person who is suffering from emphysema, since he is unable to get enough oxygen into the blood. Here in the diagram, I have shown you how the surface area is being reduced, how the alveolar walls are being broken down in a person with emphysema. The exchange surfaces, the surfaces where the exchange of gases had to take place, are being reduced, trapping the air and inflating the lungs and decreasing the surface area for gaseous exchange. This is the diagram to help you understand the what happens in the phenomenon of bronchitis and emphysema. Here in the normal alveoli, the structure is cluster-like, while in bronchitis, if you can see, the air passages are being nearly blocked down because of the excessive mucus being produced here, leading to inflammation of the bronchial walls, ultimately reducing the airflow into the alveoli. On the other hand, in emphysema, if you can see, the alveoli have lost their walls, the surface area has been reduced, and the lungs would actually become like inflated balloons, and the exchange surfaces for exchange of gases would reduce, ultimately reducing the oxygen supply to the body. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, also referred as COPD. This is the disease when the person has both chronic bronchitis and emphysema together. What happens here is that the airflow, which is normal airflow, it is being reduced because of the inflammation of bronchial wall and because of the excessive mucus being produced. Both of these causes the person to have less oxygen into the bloodstream. Next disease is lung cancer. First, understand what cancer is. Cancer is actually the uncontrolled abnormal division of the cells, producing outgrowths or lumps. This can happen anywhere in the body, but since we are studying lung cancer, so it is the uncontrolled abnormal division of cells producing outgrowth or lumps in the lungs. As you can see in the diagram here, the encircled blue part where the lumps have been formed because of the abnormal uncontrolled division of cells. What causes lung cancer or any cancer is mutation. Mutation is a sudden change in the genetic material. Cause of it can be variable. The cause of mutation is called mutagen, and in the case of lung cancer, the mutagen is TAR, or you can say TAR is carcinogenic or cancer causing. What it does, that it would cause sudden change in the genetic material of the cells, which is controlling the division of cells. So once that control is being changed, so now the cells are going to divide uncontrollably and abnormal cells would be produced. Smoking also increases the risk of cancer of mouth, throat, pancreas, kidney and urinary bladder. Now we have to see the effect of smoking in pregnancy. if you have to understand these points, first understand the structure of placenta and how this is connecting the fetus with the tissue of the mother. All these structures will be studied in detail in the chapter of reproduction in animals, but for now understand that there is a structure which is connecting the mother tissue with the fetus to let the fetus have the necessary nutrients and oxygen to develop. This is the placenta. Placenta is formed by, partially made by the tissue of the mother and partially from the tissues of the fetus. This placenta is responsible to give nutrients to the fetus, just like amino acid, glucose, vitamins, antibodies also, and is responsible to give oxygen necessary for respiration to the fetus as well. On the other hand, fetus is producing excretory material such as urea, uric acid, and then it is also producing carbon dioxide, which is to be eliminated since the fetus is unable to breathe out inside the mother's body. So it will give the excretory products to the placenta, which would be carried by the mother outside the body. So now we will see what smoking does in the state of pregnancy. Nicotine and carbon monoxide affect the development of fetus. So there is a general effect of nicotine and carbon monoxide on the development of fetus. Carbon monoxide forms carboxyhemoglobin by combining with hemoglobin, hence less oxygen would be supplied to the fetus. We know that normally hemoglobin attaches with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, but if carbon monoxide is present in mother's blood, it will attach itself to hemoglobin, forming carboxyhemoglobin, hence reducing the amount of oxygen being supplied to the fetus. Nicotine causes the arteries supplying blood to placenta to narrow, reducing the nutrient supply. So what happens is that nicotine is responsible for vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction means constriction of the vessels. Here we are talking about arteries in the placenta. So what happens is that these blood vessels, which are supplying nutrients, blood, oxygen to the fetus from the mother's tissue, will constrict, and as they constrict, they will also reduce the supply of nutrient to the fetus. Brain development of fetus is also affected. The fetus grows slowly, is born smaller and more fragile. Higher risk for premature birth, miscarriages, and stillbirth. Stillbirth means when the baby is born dead.